talk about 6 steps to buying a business. So initially we're going to talk about when we first meet a buyer, talk to a buyer, and then we're going to talk about the fact that we like to get information on the buyer. So I guess we all have to scoot in just a little bit.
There you go.
And so that's pretty much it. Next week we're going to go into the seller meeting and preparing the purchase agreement and things like that.
And to all you business sellers, we have a lot more buyers than we have sellers.
Well, that's good.
Always good. Always good. I want to apologize for my coughing. I do not have coronavirus. I have asthma. So
we hope.
Yeah, and that's what I put my nail polish on, so we can only smell that and not whatever's going on over there.
Well, Carol, we're going to talk a little bit about how we get the initial inquiries about a business, and those who are looking for a business.
So we may go ahead and we may do warm calls, warm leads, basically a referral. We also have websites that we're on. I think it goes into about 400 different websites. So we have a lot of buyers coming to us. But a lot of times you have to target the right buyer for the business. So all of us do phone calls. One thing that I've tried that worked out really well was kind of these postcards, and they go out specifically to people that I think would be interested in one of my listings. And so it could be someone that we're contacting, but like you said, we have a lot of buyers.
And we've, between the 3 of us and actually 6 brokers in this office, we probably have a couple hundred years of experience and contacts that we have developed over the years that we would call. You know, if we're trying to sell your business and it's related to their industry, then we'll give them a call and say, we have a business that somebody might be interested. Do you know anybody who would be interested? So we approach the buyer inquiry from many different angles, using all technologies, all social media that we can tap into, as you can see today, using our own personal referrals and network of people, sharing the lead with our other brokers and the people that we've met over the years. We do a lot of work to find the initial inquiry with a buyer.
And
I was just going to say that if you're a serious buyer, you need to make sure you're on the on our website, and that you are receiving the emails, you're receiving our business letter that we send out. Just take the time to get yourself registered, or so that you're getting the leads that we're sending out.
Sure.
So to make sure you're going to get the emails, you're going to get our letter, you're going to get the new leads when they come out of the new business interests that we have listed.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And even if you just have some interest, you don't have to be ready to buy right now. Just you're interested in the thought of being an entrepreneur, being a business owner. The information we send out is free. You don't have to buy that. Just see what's available, and maybe something will come along that will be of great interest to you, and you want to take a little bit further and learn a little bit more about it.
Well, and too, I was going to go back to what you were saying, Russ, and we'll get a phone call, and you may call me and you're looking for a particular business. Maybe we don't have it listed, maybe you've seen it somewhere else. We can help you with that. And the other thing is, we have so many listings in our office, and there's a few of us business brokers in here. So if I don't have that particular listing, I can just walk over to Verlin's office, or I can walk over to Russ's office, get them on the phone quickly, talk to John, and we'll end up having something for you pretty quick. But we all work together, and so I think that's what's nice about our particular office.
Hey Russ, a few minutes ago we were talking about the NDA, and we're going to require that a buyer sign an NDA. Do you want to explain why we do that?
You bet. So the NDA is a non-disclosure agreement, and when we find a seller for a business and enter into an agreement with them to sell their business, one of the things we never want to happen is for that business to decline while we're trying to sell it. And it could be that if people got word that the business was for sale, that the people wouldn't want to do business with them anymore, the vendors wouldn't want to sell with them anymore, or their employees would get nervous and leave. So there's this proprietary information that we don't want to share. We can't share by legal contract. We can't share with you as a buyer without you signing an agreement, or what we call a non-disclosure agreement, that you're not going to blab this around. You're going to use the information that we share with you for your own purposes in making a decision to buy the business. And when we say that, your advisors, your accountant, your attorney, your insurance broker, these people are on your team. They're part of your buying team. So you can share the information with them because they have a fiduciary duty to you to act in your best interest and not blab this around. So when you sign the NDA, you're signing the NDA for your team. But we will require that. Even my best friends that I call and say, hey, I got this deal, you got interested in it. Yeah, I'm interested in that. Send it over to me. And I said, as soon as you sign the NDA, I'm going to send you the information. And so I don't spread this around to anybody. We try to be very confidential and respect the business that we represent, so that so we don't want that business to diminish while we're trying to sell it. So yeah, that's part of the initial inquiry. Is you'll be asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and you'll also be asked, or we're going to ask you to fill out a buyer profile, and that's the next issue of on our agenda today.
That's a lot of reasons for the buyer profile. For one, you need to understand what you want to buy, and understand the implications of buying a business, what a business will, how it'll impact your family, how it'll impact your life, and the time requirements that it's going to take. And so that buyer profile will help us to be able to better communicate with you on that level. And there's other reasons we have the buyer profile filled out as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we want to know that if you're going to call in and you're looking for a particular business, or you called in on one that specifically you're looking at, that may or may not be the business you actually buy. So we're going to ask, what do you like to do? What do you enjoy doing? I even have had a couple friends say, well, how do I know what kind of business to go after? Well, what are you good at? What are you familiar with? What do you see yourself doing? You may be a first-time buyer, so you're not sure. We're here to guide you and help you through that process.
Here's some guidance. If you are looking to buy a business and you're going to need a loan to buy the business, which is typically the case, usually you'll have some money that you can put down, and we need to know how much money that you can put down, that you can afford to invest in the business. Otherwise, we can't find the right business for you. So we're going to ask you, how much money do you have to put down on a new business? The next issue that we need to know is, do you have industry experience? If you do not, and you need to get a loan, the Small Business Administration will not allow you to get a loan on this business unless you have specific experience in that industry. So the buyer profile will tell us, is this person authorized to get a loan, and how much money do they have to invest, so that we're not spinning our wheels looking for a business that you will not be able to buy. Also, our sellers, if you can't get an SBA loan, our sellers are going to be concerned about, well, if they can't get an SBA loan and I have to finance the deal for them, are they going to be able to run the deal? Do they have or do they have good credit that I'm going to have to trust them? I'm going to carry paper on this business. Do you have credit worthy enough to sell my business to, and will I get paid? And if you fail at my business, do all I get back is a failed business? I don't want a failed business back. So they're going to look to you for credit worthiness to make sure that you can buy the business and afford to pay for it once you get it.
This is part of the vetting process that we use, not only for your sake, but also for the seller's sake, so that it makes the transaction go a little bit better, a little easier.
You bet.
Right. We want you to succeed. We want to succeed. We want the buyer and the seller to succeed. We want the business to succeed.
Absolutely. There's nobody in this office that just wants to dump a business on you to take your money. That is not our intent ever. Our intent is that you buy a business and not just succeed, not just pay your salary, but that you help it to grow and it flourishes and you're successful and wealthy. I can't say the hours I've spent with a buyer of a business to help and ensure that the business that they buy makes them money. It is of highest concern to me. I do not want to sell a business that I know that in fact, I will not sell a business that the buyer, I think, will fail at that business. I'm not going to sell it to them. I do everything I can to discourage them from buying that business if I think they're going to fail. So one of the reasons for the buyer profile is to help us help you. We want you to succeed. And a lot of people come in and they say, "Oh, I've always wanted to own a restaurant." And I want to greet people and tell them good food, and I always wanted to own a restaurant, and that's a nice dream. But if you don't have experience and network to support that restaurant, it's going to be really hard to be successful at it. There's certain experience. If a lot of people have ability to manage almost any business, but if they don't have contacts in that industry, it's hard for them to get the best deals, to find the best advertising. They really need to have industry connections. And that's one of the things we look for on your buyer profile. Sometimes I'll look at a buyer profile and they'll say, I'm looking to buy a coatings business. And I happen to represent a coatings business right now. We do truck bed liners. And so I'm looking for somebody that has some experience in painting, a paint booth or auto body, because it's a related field, and because they have that related network, I know they're going to be more successful, and I know that they can probably get a loan. So that's what I'm looking for in the buyer profile: is how can I help them get a business that they'll succeed at?
I thought of something when you were talking about that, and when I look on the buyer profile and I see, how many hours are you going to put into your job, and I see, 20 hours a week, it's probably more beneficial to be thinking about how hard you're going to be working in a business. I mean, if you're going to be there, you're going to put in a lot of hours. That's what business owners do. So there's a lot of buyers that come in and they want to own a business, but they don't want to work it. They want someone else to manage it and run it. But you can actually make more money if you run it and you're working full time there. So it's just something else I thought about.
And that's one of the reasons we do the confidential buyer profile, is that it gives us an idea of what you're going to be able to handle and what you're willing to do. Some businesses you can get away with less hours, and some are going to take more hours. Some are more management style, some are more hands-on, and that goes to our next step, which is the seller meeting, which we're going to discuss a little bit, and I think we'll probably discuss a little bit more next month. But the seller meeting is an opportunity for you to be able to face-to-face talk to the seller, see what they've been doing, how they've run the business, how much time it takes, how much effort it takes, who your key people are, the direction the business needs to go, the opportunities for growth. There's many different things that you can ask in the buyer-seller meeting that are probably not going to be disclosed in any other way. Buyer-seller meetings have been, in my experience, some have been great. They've been great opportunities, and others have just shown that the buyer is not really ready for that kind of a business. So a very important part of the sales process that we handle in the business brokerage.
Yeah, this is unique to a business brokerage. If you buy a house, you will never ever meet the seller, or it's rare that you will. Yeah. The seller doesn't want any part. It doesn't want to even know who you are. They just want your money. And so it's unique to the business brokerage industry to have a meeting with the two parties that are in this transaction. And the reason for that is, in many instances, the seller has to finance your purchase. So they're not just you're gonna pay them some cash down, and maybe you'll pay them the SBA money that you borrow, but the SBA is going to require that seller to retain some financing in that business, probably 10%, and so that they have some skin in the game. And the SBA looks at it as, I want that seller to be on the hook to help the buyer succeed, and to be available to the buyer when they have a question. And when they have some skin in the game, they have a loan out that they're still waiting for money from the buyer, they're more likely to help them in the operation of the business. And that buyer-seller meeting is going to let you know let the seller know, do I want to work with this buyer for the next 3 to 5 years? So the buyer-seller meeting is unique to our industry and a very effective tool. We were going to talk next time about how you prepare for that buyer-seller meeting, what kind of questions you should ask. A lot of times the buyer comes in and they don't know what to ask. And so we want to help you with that in our next meeting. Anything else, though, that we need to discuss with this meeting? Is there anybody on Facebook Live that has a question for us that would like to weigh in?
How many questions?
No
well,
questions?
I actually had a question, so maybe you guys could answer it. How, since there are so many businesses, and you're only one person, I am. How do you possibly know how to sell all these different businesses? What does it take? Well, I know that we put the deal together. We have to know enough to put the deal together. But the other thing is, you've got all these different businesses. When you talk about the seller meeting, that's where you really get to talk, because we can only go back and forth with, what we need to do between buyer and seller until it's time for them to meet. That's what you're waiting for, that opportunity to meet with the seller. That's where you're going to get your answers from. We're not going to know everything about every single business, but we're going to know enough to do the deal. That's what we're good at. And it's just a matter of getting you together with that seller and getting your answers, your questions answered.
When we sell a business, we do take the time to understand that business better. We do our research. We do everything we can to try to get a good handle on what the business is. But that buyer-seller meeting is an opportunity for you to really ask the questions and really, dive in deep with the seller to find out what it really takes to run that business. Because I want to emphasize again that when you buy a business, you're buying a lifestyle. And it's more than just that business. It's going to change, it's going to impact your family, it's going to impact you, it's going to impact your time. And there's a lot of things that you need to be able to ask, and we'll help you with those questions so that you're asking the right questions of the seller.
Yeah, we will be involved in that buyer-seller meeting.
Right,
in most instances, we are going to be there with you and help you ask the right questions and make sure that you get the information that you need to make a good decision for you and your family.
And this is a great opportunity to change the direction of your life. And so we're giving you some scenarios so that you might think a little bit deeper about buying a business, but we want you to understand that if you buy the right business, it's going to be a great opportunity and it's going to be a great thing for you and your family.
Exactly. So, thanks for listening to us today, and we'll be here next month. And,
Thank you.
We'll continue.
Bye.